Most of you aren't subscribed. Make sure to subscribe, as it helps out the channel. Without further ado, the series kicks off within the Police Department Division 1, where Supervisor Amamiya is furious at the fact that there has been a fifth victim with no new clues on the perpetrator. Turning to our MC Ashiki, Amamiya orders Ashiki to head home for the night, declaring that Ashiki being sleep-deprived will only slow down their investigations. Having a chat with Kiku, Ashiki fears that if he doesn't produce results soon, he'll get kicked out of the First Division. Kiku reflects on how Ashiki was fooled by a criminal and allowed them to escape 3 times, and on top of that Ashiki was once arrested for sneaking around at night. But Kiku praises Ashiki for pursuing justice, even though his methods aren't conventional. Ashiki says the recent murders have been stuck on his mind, something Kiku takes note of, as he uses the opportunity to allude to someone that can catch the current culprit at hand. Curious, Ashiki demands to know who this mysterious person is, but Kiku reveals that this genius detective is no ordinary man. Having been given the address along with a picture of the genius detective, Kiku suggests that Ashiki visit him, leading Ashiki to an old apartment building in search of this detective. Entering the building, Ashiki wonders why the detective isn't working for the police full-time. But as Ashiki stumbles upon the detective's apartment building, Ashiki is told to go away as he tries to ring the doorbell. Believing that he must have heard wrong, Ashiki tries again, but once again is told to go away. Ashiki believes that he's being mistaken for someone else, but the detective orders Ashiki to go beg the gods for help in saving his job, surprising Ashiki as to how the detective knew he visited the shrine. When Ashiki tries to introduce himself as a fellow member of the police department, Ashiki gets ignored, but upon mentioning how Kiku was the one who told Ashiki to seek the detective's advice, the detective reluctantly opens the door, revealing his disheveled look. Ashiki is in complete shock, wondering if this is the same Kamonohashi Ron as the slick-backed gentleman in the photos, frightened to see Kamo's dead eyes and unkempt hair. Having been insulted enough, Kamo retreats back into his apartment, prompting Ashiki to follow after, asking how Kamo knows Kiku but almost steps on Kamo's cat. Kamo reveals that he was friends with Kiku's son, grateful that Kiku took care of him when he was young. As for the cat, Kiku sent it to Kamo fearing that Kamo would be alone. Kamo suddenly collapses to the ground, but Ashiki realizes that the ground has been padded, the windows are completely shut, also learning that Kamo has no internet connection, completely cutting himself off from the outside world. Seeing Kamo's list of how depressing his life has become, Ashiki tries to ask Kamo something, but Kamo simply refuses, stating that he knows Kiku has sent Ashiki to be his partner, but sadly reveals that Ashiki isn't the first person Kiku has sent, as Kamo has rejected and humbled everyone Kiku has sent. When Ashiki hears that Kamo has retired from being a detective, Ashiki asks for Kamo's advice on a recent murder case, but out of nowhere Kamo begins screaming, annoying Ashiki, as Kamo says he doesn't want to hear about any murders. Seeing as there is nothing that can be done, Ashiki turns to leave, but gets curious as to how Kamo knew he visited a shrine recently to beg gods for help. Kamo states that he noticed some pine pollen on Ashiki's shoulder, something that can be found around a nearby shrine. Coupled that with a can of coffee in Ashiki's left pocket and some spare change in his right, Kamo deduced that Ashiki had visited the Wakana shrine bright and early. Amazed that Kamo was spot on, Kamo gets annoyed that Ashiki is still here. Kamo adds that he can tell his grandparents raised Ashiki due to Ashiki's attitude. Smirking, Kamo states that he knows Ashiki is here seeking Kamo's help to avoid being kicked from Division 1, but is curious as to why Kiku would send someone like Ashiki that is reliant on others, someone that Kamo is well known to hate. Ashiki believes that Kamo will be able to solve the most recent murder, but when Kamo refuses, Ashiki begins screaming out the details of the recent murders, annoyed to see Kamo has put in earplugs to block out Ashiki's words. Trying to persuade Kamo, Ashiki suddenly gets a call from Amamiya, but gets his phone knocked away by Kamo, ordering Ashiki to not talk about work in his presence. Sadly, Ashiki had answered the phone, hearing Amamiya report that a sixth body had been found in Kazuhana Park in Shibuya, ordering Ashiki to head there since he's the closest. Before Ashiki can leave, he spots Kamo writhing in pain, uttering that he can't hold himself back any longer. Ashiki learns that Kamo can't resist solving a case once he learns of the details, having been forced to retire from being a detective, something Ashiki believes is due to Kamo's weak body. Kamo orders Ashiki to leave, as Kamo plans to knock himself out with some sleeping pills, but Ashiki is very persistent on Kamo solving the case, reminding Kamo that human lives are at stake. Intrigued by Ashiki's genuine passion, Kamo agrees to visit the crime scene, but warns Ashiki to never allow himself to leave Ashiki's sight. As both men jog to the scene of the crime, Ashiki is amazed at Kamo's athleticism, shocked to hear Kamo trains 4 hours a day in his home gym. As Ashiki and Kamo are taken to the victim's body, they learn that the victim is a private investment broker, Okamasa. Apparently Okamasa didn't end up going to a scheduled party last night, but as a police officer recounts some more details, Kamo suddenly lays down next to the victim's corpse. Kamo begins uttering that the victim had drowned, scolding the corpse for handing over their valuable goods without a fight, but this makes the police officer wonder how Kamo knows all of this without hearing about the other corpses. Kamo states that the white froth from the victim's mouth indicates possibility of drowning, and since his suit is still intact, Kamo deduces that his watch along with his wallet must have been stolen as well. Hearing all of this, Ashiki states that the other victims had similar deaths, all having their bodies intact, with no signs of poisoning. Only their valuable goods were stolen and their bodies seemed to have drowned. Kamo asks for more details on the victims, only to be handed a tablet of all the victims and where they were heading before their deaths. Seeing no overlap between victims, Ashiki wonders if there was a location to drown the victims, giving Kamo an idea of who the perpetrator is and where they can be. Leaping onto his legs, Kamo declares they'll be heading out, but first asks Ashiki for some spare cash. With Kamo disguising Ashiki in a fancy-looking outfit, they have to change Ashiki's hair at a nearby hair salon, but Ashiki notes how he's sleep-deprived, so he'll probably fall asleep. As Ashiki heads inside to meet with the barber, Kamo lays outside, weirding out some kids. With Ashiki and the barber having some small chit-chat, the barber asks for Ashiki to place his hair into the basin to be shampooed. As the barber heads off to retrieve some towels, the barber prepares to take out another item, but suddenly realizes that Ashiki has fallen asleep, smirking as he turns on the sink to drown Ashiki. Out of nowhere, Kamo appears, revealed to have picked the door's lock, declaring that the killer is the barber, but at the same time Ashiki lifts his head, having followed Kamo's instruction to hold his breath. Kamo reveals that the victims exhibited no signs of passing due to drugs or violence since the barber has specially crafted a basin that poured out oxygen-deficient air, something when coupled with water would immediately cause the victims to faint only to then drown. Kamo reveals that all the victims had messy hair, therefore the murderer only targeted people that were looking for a haircut, and by narrowing down the shops to ones that accept walk-ins and a place not known to many. Kamo states that the barber targeted only the rich, hence why Ashiki had to change his outfit, but when Kamo reveals they are detectives, the barber knocks down some shelves, fleeing. As the two chase after Barber, Kamo reveals that he had locked down the barber's escape route, demanding to know the barber's motive behind killing 6 people. When the barber declares that he hates the rich and doesn't regret his actions, Kamo suddenly orders the barber to jump to his death, weird as Kamo's eyes are suddenly glowing. With the barber now sharing those glowing eyes, the barber mindlessly follows Kamo's orders, all whilst Ashiki rushes to stop the barber. As Kamo snaps out of it, he scolds himself for letting his curse take effect once more, but surprisingly, Ashiki had managed to catch the barber before he jumped, buying Kamo enough time to save them both with a makeshift bungee rope. As the other detectives arrive, Kamo fills Ashiki in on his curse that causes him to slay the murder culprit, revealing that Kamo has a 100% success rate on solving cases, but his capture rate is 0. Realizing why Kiku sent Ashiki, Kamo declares that Ashiki's ability to protect others will overcome Kamo's fatal flaw, declaring that they'll work together moving forward. Check out one of our other videos on the screen or in the info card above. Subscribe, like and comment.